Viewed by many to be pretty weak for some time, with the recent buffs to Alistar, we've seen a huge rise in him in competitive play. Although he was played just a little bit before the buffs, it was only very occasionally. And although the buffs were intended for Alistar support, the unexpected pick of Alistar top has rose up to be quite a powerful force in LCS play. So what has made this Alistar top not only possible, but a strong option that results in a very dynamic team comp? This is Pocket Picks. Alistar's rise starts with a pretty big buff in patch 4.12. His mana cost will improve significantly by about 23% on both his Pulverize and Headbutt, and his ultimate had its early game damage reduction increased, while also applying the damage reduction instantly rather than after the spell animation. Although these buffs may seem somewhat minor on paper, they actually removed not one, but two major weaknesses in his overall kit, that being his mana issues and his early game. Alistar is not actually that tanky early game, since his ultimate needs items to scale up effectively, since his base stats are kind of around average. Now, the thing about Alistar top is that it actually has some major weaknesses that can be easily capitalized on, but also some major strengths, allowing you to create a comp based around him to forego the weaknesses. First off, is that Alistar's actual laning is pretty terrible versus ranged champions. He's vulnerable to poke and has poor wave clear, so he has trouble defending towers. And since his kit does not have that much inherent damage, his kill pressure is fairly low. However, this can easily be foregone by the use of a 2v1 or preferably a 2 versus 0 lane setup, which Alistar is actually absurdly powerful in. This is going to deny farm from both top laners, as opposed to just Alistar, who likely would have lost lane anyways, allowing you to ignore the poor laning matchup while having Alistar shine through in something many top laners cannot shine through, and that is roaming. You can play the 2v0 lane normally and end with just a tower trade, but during that time it takes to make the tower trade, Alistar can gank mid 2 or 3 times, as well as farming the jungle to hit level 4 or level 5. Alistar ganks mid are incredible. A headbutt into Pulverize will pretty much ensure a kill every time. Oftentimes, even if the opponent still has flash up, you can kill them. So you can 2 versus 0 in a way where your mid laner is going to get a huge lead with Alistar top. After that, you can wait for the opponents to push their 2 versus 0 lane after the tower, and have Alistar go clear what will be a large wave for usually 2 levels or so to hit level 6. And he can actually do well in lane versus melee top laners, since his kit and sustain can deny fights, as well as outtrade opponents by poking with his Sheen proc and then disengaging with his headbutt. He can even be a decent pick versus Maokai top, one of the strongest laners right now. And the gank ability of an Alistar lane in the first place for junglers is pretty massive, so it's not like his laning phase is totally hopeless. Overall, this results in a composition that focuses on shutting down the enemy top laner and the enemy mid laner. Alistar can build mostly tanky anyways, and he can still be very useful despite lacking gold. But the mid-game transition works great too, since Alistar has phenomenal teamfights due to being a support-esque champion, and he combos well with a lot of other champions as well, such as assassins, or as well as AoE comps with Orianna or Lulu or champions like that. He's just a monster frontliner, although his damage is minimal, so he must be picked with backliners who have some strong reliable damage. Often a hyper carry AD carry, as well as high damage mid laners, are played with Alistar to make good use of him. And so, we've seen Alistar top arise as a pocket pick. It is a somewhat risky composition that hopes to snowball the mid lane, as if the opponent's top laner finds a way to gain ground in their 2 versus 1 or 2 versus 0 situation, it can set your team quite far back. But Alistar top is essentially viable due to the whole 2 versus 0 concept, since it lets you ignore his abysmal laning phase versus ranged champions. And when it gets to the later phases of the game, his teamfights are dominant, and his subpar siege defense can be made up for with other champions. And with good coordination with your jungler, Alistar top can be quite the menace and lead to some pretty easy kills, which can be used to take towers and dragons and then snowball. However, due to the nature of this pick, I would not really expect this kind of niche pick to find a place in solo queue, since he not only requires the proper composition, but also the proper coordination to set up, so unless you can get a good matchup in lane, Alistar top is very difficult to play. Potentially tried in team play though, as it is a very strong and fairly easy to execute composition. My name is Jeremy, and this is Pocket Picks. Let me know what other pocket picks you would like to see me cover in the future. If you enjoyed this video, feel free to check out some of my others on the screen right now, or stay connected at facebook.com/gamingcurios. Drop a like, share this video, and make sure to subscribe for some more awesome content in the future. And as always, thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you guys next time.